Hey, everybody, good evening. It is 10 o'clock on Friday night, and today we are going to be talking about how much does it really cost to buy a house. This is super complicated and it's often misunderstood, it's often misrepresented. And I am wearing my Bears Beats Battlestar Galactica with my favorite guy, Dwight Schrute, on it tonight. So, again, I'm going to share my screen here, minimize myself. I'm sure some of you guys are applauding right yet now. Yay, minimize yourself. Poof, there I go. Tiny. So I've already kind of filled some of this in. This is the sheet that we go over with you when you're going to buy a house. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to start at the bottom and I'm going to talk about the four different types of loans there are. So let's start with possibly arguably one of the best loans that's out there. If you are active or a veteran from the military, you can get in with no down payment. That's the VA loan. Notice that all the loans that end in A are the ones that are related to the government. So the VA loan is for our veterans and for active military, and there is no down payment. There are some costs associated with it. They roll those costs into the loan if you have a certain percentage of a disability and some other things that you qualify for as well. Can't think of the word. You can qualify for waiving those things. You need to check with your lender. And I'm going to probably say that about 68 times tonight. You need to check with your lender. This is why we just give a high level overview, because a lot of people are afraid to ask their lender questions. Like when you go to school and you're afraid to ask your teacher questions or whatever, those are the people you should be asking questions. But we're going to give a high level overview. But if you want something a little bit more specific than that, okay. So the next loan that some people may qualify for, it's not based on the person, but it's based on the area that you're looking at. So this is only available in certain areas. This is the USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture, the same group that stamps your beef and says, prime, grade A, blah, blah, blah. Yes. And you, as you can imagine, you probably need to be buying in the land of horse and cows. So you're not going to be eligible for this in Baltimore or Annapolis or Columbia or York or, any other cities like that. But a lot of times in between those places, if it gets rural enough, the USDA areas are eligible. So you can just Google USDA eligibility map. And every single time I've ever done that, first link is the US eligibility map. You have to click OK that you recognize you can do this. And it'll pull up the map and it can actually, that is a good idea, Randy. Let's show the audience what it is. So let me open up a new window here, share a different window. Let me get it pulled up first. All right, let's just share something different. Good old DuckDuckGo here. Okay. I'm going to actually go to Google because I know most people use Google, and we're going to do USDA eligibility, and there it is, eligibility map. It never fails. This website sometimes changes, so you just want to just Google that. All right, so like I said, you're going to have to click on accept. You're going to type in an address. You can type in any address. Okay. And what you'll see is when you type in an address, you'll see the map start showing up. And somewhere, here it is. Somewhere in here is the zoom in and out. So I don't want to zoom too far out because here we go. That's perfect. All right. So what you can see here is it starts filling in. The shaded parts, the parts that are yellowish here, are the ones that are not eligible. This map works exactly opposite of every other map we've ever seen, probably because it's a government map. And what they do is they shade the areas that are not eligible. And so this is basically based by population. So you can see as you travel the 24 corridor right here, the 95 corridor, anything, anywhere related to the Beltway whatsoever, except for this tiny little area here. But as you go north here, you'll see once you get north of Cockeysville, up 83, you've got lots of stuff that's available until you get near York. And this map hasn't populated yet. It's coming. It's trying. Anyway, might be with all the bandwidth that I've got going on, it's not loading or something like that. But you see, as you come down here, you get down here near the airport, Fort Meade. Obviously, if you live on base at Fort Meade, I guess it's USDA eligible. They probably have like a special waiver for that. Parole, Naval Academy, not Arnold, not Annapolis. Oh, yep, some of Annapolis. Okay. And then lots of Queen Anne County and further down. So obviously not anything near DC at all. So you got to have a little bit of the land of horses and cows. Let's see if this York thing populated yet. I'm pretty sure this surprises me unless they've changed it. I'm pretty sure that York was not something that was eligible, especially not in the city itself. What happens if I zoom in on this? Anyway, that wasn't the point of the conversation. So let me just jump out of that. Let's jump out of that and jump back into it just takes a while to find it every time. It's like 18 buttons to click. All right. The bags of money. So here's what we've got going on. Okay. VA, USDA. With the USDA, you can get zero down as well, but it's only in certain areas. There also is a funding fee associated with that. Typically, they roll that into the cost of the house, so you don't have to pay it outright. Next, we come up to the one that these are the two loans that are used typically the most. The one in red here, the one circled with my terrible circle in red, I did it on purpose. You could tell that I did it. This is the FHA loan, Federal Housing Administration loan. This is a government-backed loan. It's not a government loan. That's not really important for our conversation here, but it's not the government loaning you money. It's government-backed loan. And with this FHA loan, you can get into the house for less money down. You can generally get a lower interest rate, and you can get in with a lower credit score. Okay. You will, however, have PMI. This is the thing that your parents probably warned you about. Private mortgage insurance. Private mortgage insurance is insurance that you pay to ensure that you pay. What that means is if you don't pay, it helps the bank out to recover its losses from you. Okay. So it is not homeowners insurance. It does not help you in any way. It's something that the bank, or in this case, the government, will make you pay for to make sure that you pay. And you have to pay that for life or until you refinance, which a lot of people do. So you're not stuck in any one of these things. You can always refinance. This is typically the first-time home buyer's choice, but it is not only for first-time home buyers, and first-time home buyers do not have to use it. It just so happens that it fits a lot of their needs. This is another great program. This is the conventional one. This is the only one that's not government-backed. So this is like a portfolio loan, something that the bank keeps and the bank holds themselves. Typically, there's a 5% down payment. That can vary. It typically comes with a slightly higher interest rate. You want to target yourself for 700 credit score or above. There's obviously variations for that, but you don't want to come in on this with a 640 credit score. You're going to get a terrible rate, or maybe it get denied for the loan. And you're only going to have PMI until you hit 20% of the value of your home. So if your home is worth $100,000 and you've paid down 20,000 of it, then you've paid down 20% and you're going to be able to get rid of the PMI. So that's nice because you can hold it longer, especially in a scenario where you get a good interest rate and you're not looking to refinance. So these are the different types of loans. So what we're going to do is jump back up to the top now. I'm going to go through if you were doing an FHA loan first, and then I'll go through if you were buying a conventional loan. And just off screen here, I have my handy dandy calculator. Some of these guys I can do in my head, some I can't. So let's go with the FHA first. There's two bags of money that you're going to be bringing to the table when you buy a house. There's the down payment and the closing costs. The down payment is the percentage that you're putting down. It's a very exact number. It's very easy to calculate. The closing costs are a little bit more nebulous. These closing costs include the inspection, the appraisal, the title fees, the title insurance, the taxes, the recording fees. Most companies like ourselves have an admin fee. You're paying that. Origination fees, loan fees, all the different fees that are involved with it. And there are quite a few. They actually typically add up to be just as much as the down payment, sometimes a little bit more. So we're going to start with the target price of the house. For the sake of me being able to do this easily, and we're just going to be mainly talking about first-time home buyers here, let's just start with $300,000. You're maybe 250, 350, heck, you may be 850. God bless you. That's awesome. So if you're doing FHA, which is what only thing we're focusing on right now, then it would be 3.5 times that. So this would be $10,500. Okay. All right. And then I don't know why I have that twice. I guess I don't know. The closing costs are going to be roughly 4.5%. So we take 4 times that, that's 12. Half of that, 13.5. Okay. So these guys together, let's just move this down. Let's get rid of this. I think this will make it a little bit cleaner. Get rid of this guy, move this down. There we go. Okay. I don't know why that just got highlighted. Let's get rid of that. Okay. And then if we take these two together and add them up, it looks like we have $24,000. So that's what you'd be coming up with in between. Now, before you just hang up on this call, close me down or anything like that, hold on. There is good news at the end of the tunnel. But before that, let's get into conventional. So conventional is typically 5%. This is a lot of times for your more established, buyers. So 5% of that would be $15,000. Okay. And then over here on the closing costs, it's going to be slightly less, 4.5%. So it's actually, the same, whether it's FHA or conventional. They're really close. All right. And if we add these together, then we're at, I believe, 28,500. I did not use my calculator for any of this. So if I'm wrong, you can just obviously make the correction. So let's focus on FHA for just 1 second. So if we go with the FHA, all the numbers in red here, $300,000 target price of the house, you can get closing cost help. I just added this little section in here. So the closing cost help is where you can get some government help. Okay. Keep in mind, when you're doing your down payment, you can get help from the government, you can get help from your family, and you can get help from yourself. When you are talking about your closing costs, you can get it from the government, family, yourself, and you can also get it from the seller. Now let's talk about these things that I have crossed out here. You notice I didn't delete them. I just crossed them out because eventually I'm going to come back and undelete them when the market changes. Right now, we're still a little bit in the seller's market. I crossed these out just to make the point. You can, when you're FHA, you can get up to 6% closing cost help from the seller. When you're conventional, you can get up to 3% closing cost help from the seller if you're living in that home, which of course, that's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about investments. That's a whole different story. In VA, you can get 4% help. Plus, you actually can get help with your bills. It is a really cool, fascinating thing, but for a different subject. But if you are VA and you've got some bills piling up, this is actually a great tool for that. And USDA, again, you can get up to 6% closing cost help for this. Keep in mind, typically closing costs is about 4.5%. So you're not going to get 6% if you only have 4.5% of closing costs. By that, what I mean is there's no scenario where you're actually going to get money back. You're not going to get 1.5% back, or in this case, $4,500 back as a check. It just doesn't work that way. They're not going to pay you to buy a house. Okay. So also, you can get help. There's a grant for heroes. It's called an FHLB loan. There are other things. Don't worry about taking notes about what these grants are called or how much they are and stuff like that. The lenders, you're going to talk to the lenders. I know I didn't say that 68 times like I said I was going to, but I'll try to say it more. You're going to be talking with your lenders and you're going to be getting it figured out by them. Okay. Not by me. You can also, if you're not a hero, and the heroes, I think I was supposed to have an E on that. Let's add that in there in case somebody's screenshotting this. Heroes, police, fire, ambulance, hospital, schools, military. And if I'm leaving somebody out, I apologize, but there are all types of heroes. Obviously, all of us are heroes in some way, shape, or form, but this is a special heroes program for special occupations. If you're not one of them, you still are going to get $12,500. It's a really good deal. And from the Maryland Mortgage Program, you can get up to $6,000. A lot of times you can stack this stuff. And this is mostly only for first-time home buyers. There are some programs out there for second-time home buyers, but they come with higher rates and this and that. And most times they're not worth it if you're a second-time home buyer. But when you're a first-time home buyer, you can get these programs available to you and they can really add up. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you're FHA and you're a teacher, something like that. You can get $15,000 and you can get up to 6% of this. You can get 15 plus, in this case, 18, which would be about $30,000. Okay. Now, like I said, you can't get more money than what you need. But if you get this money, you can actually use it to pay down this. So what you would actually do is, instead of putting 5% down or 3.5% down, you might be putting 4.5% down or 6% down or something like that. You can actually get a lower loan amount and actually lower your payment. In any case, though, you're generally, best case scenario, you're generally going to come up with at least $2,000 to $3,000 out of your own pocket in the process. So please don't misunderstand me. Let me drive this point home. There is always going to be some kind of minimum that you're going to have to put down, even if the amount of money that you're supposed to be getting outweighs how much money you're supposed to be paying. There's always going to be some money out of pocket. I just want to be brutally honest with you about that. Anybody that's telling you otherwise is selling, the Brooklyn Bridge or something like that. So you're probably going to be putting down a couple of $1,000, $2,000 or $3,000, and you're probably going to be putting that down as a deposit on the house anyway. So then from there on out, you'd be pretty much free and clear. Okay. So that's the money that you're going to put down. This is the help you're going to get. You always want to confer with your lender. And this is like probably time number 6 or 7 that I said this, because they're going to look at your income. There are income limits for this. There are lots of teachers that are quote unquote too rich. I know, don't shoot the messenger. If you're making above a certain amount of money, the program considers you too rich. So teachers, you want to get in on this probably before you think you can afford it, because by the time you think you can afford the house, you might be making too much money. You got to get in, start paddling downstream. I say this all the time. You just got to start somewhere. You're not going to start with your dream house. Let's start with a house and then you can build up to it. Okay. So this is the approximation of what you're going to be paying. So I want to go over real quickly some of the things that you're going to pay along the way. There are 3 things that you're going to pay before you get to closing, and they are part of the down payment and the closing costs. One of the things that you're going to pay right out of the gate when you find a house that you like is you're going to put down a down payment. That's typically going to be, a deposit. Sorry, misspoke. A deposit. And that's typically going to be 1% of the value of the home. So in this case, your deposit would be $3,000. That $3,000 would come off of this. So if you were doing FHA at closing, you would need to come up with an extra $7,500 because you already did the $3,000 that would be taken off of this. The other two things that you're going to pay on the path to home ownership, but before you get there, are the inspection and the appraisal. These are both closing costs. So we're not adding on to this. We're actually taking off of this. So again, if you're FHA, you're going to pay somewhere between $500 to $800 for inspections, depending upon how many you're doing. And I don't recommend skimping out on inspections because you're leveraging $500 versus $300,000. Trust me, it's money well spent. And appraisals are typically somewhere between $500 and $600 now. So you've got that as well. So that might be another $1,100, $1,200 that you're going to spend. And that money would come off of this. So that is included. So these amounts right here are all inclusive. The three amounts that I just said just now, the deposit, the inspection, and the appraisal, those three guys are just going to be the parts of these that you're going to pay on the path to closing. And then at closing, which is typically about 30 days after we get you under contract, at closing, you're going to have to come up with the rest of this. And if you're working with a lender and they're helping you get some grants and some special loan products and stuff, some of these monies have to be paid back, some do not. Make sure you know what those things are with the lender. They're going to help you get as much money as you need, not any more than you need, because you don't want to borrow, beg, borrow, or steal, or pay interest on anything that you don't need, and help get you the best house that you can afford for the money. So I hope this was helpful for you. Please feel free to take a screenshot of this. And if you want me to sit down with you and let you see what this looks like at a different price, we definitely do this during our buyer brokerage appointment. It's a 60 to 90-minute meeting where you come in, you meet with one of us, and we go through all of this together with you, specific to your needs. Hope this helped. Hope you have a great night, and I'll see you soon.